Fact.
Well, the future of Sussex I think, is pretty grim. I think that they're on a permanent decline. But they will, whenever they need money, whenever they need publicity to stoke their reputation, they'll drop another little bomb. I mean, we're still waiting, of course, for Meghan's own autobiography, which I'm sure she is penning. She is a good writer, and it'll be filled with vitriol and filled with lies. I mean, she will not tell the truth because she wants sensational headlines.
Are you sure about that?
That is the ultimate weapon she can deploy. But I just think that the royal family at the moment here in London is a bit sad. I mean, the illnesses, of course, have undermined their attraction, undermined their visibility. And that, of course, what grieves me most is, of course, that pleases Meghan and Harry. They are the epitome of good health. And there's Charles and Camilla and, of course, Kate, all unwell. And that, of course, is a great tragedy for us.
Well, they have been quiet. I mean, I don't remember Meghan saying anything for months and months and months, possibly last year, maybe. I mean, she's been incredibly quiet.
Fact.
Can we give them some kind of credit here? Have they reined in their attacks because they understand that the King and Princess of Wales are seriously unwell?
Good question.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that she's allowed Harry to make the running. I mean, she is reserving herself for her autobiography. It's much better for her to be seen as the silent princess or duchess, the silent weapon in reserve.
That doesn't make sense.
I mean, Harry, after all, has said some pretty unfortunate things when he came across and didn't see his father on his way to Nigeria. But Nigeria said it all. The visit to Nigeria, you didn't need words from Meghan to say what it was all about. It was about, we are the royal family in a Commonwealth country, the most important probably in Africa.
Well, duh.
And that said it all. It was a brilliant coup. Put the British royal family, our royal family, into a very, very difficult position, intentionally so. And that unfortunate occurrence is, again, the palace should never have agreed. They should have lobbied the Nigerians not to allow the Sussexes to come.
Why? Why?
Because, of course, they were upstaged in a vitally important Commonwealth country.
So spinning it forward, are you concerned? Because I'm led to believe that they will do more of these trips. You know, this suited them because I was at the Invictus Games last September and the Nigerian Defence Minister turned up.
Okay.
And he sat at the front with Harry and Meghan. I think this is where it all started, their trip to Nigeria, because Meghan had said she was a certain percentage Nigerian heritage. What are the pitfalls that they could fall in? Or what's the problems they can cause to the royal family if they end up having more royal tours around the world?
Well, of course they will, as the royal family, because of Charles's and Kate's illnesses, are unable to travel as much as they would like, or travel at all. The presence of Meghan and Harry in Commonwealth countries will be absolutely damaging to the royal family. And that, of course, is a serious problem because, after all, Anne can't travel and, William rightly feels he should be with his own children and wife. So it's very difficult. The only question is whether the British Foreign Office and Number 10 can persuade Commonwealth countries not to host Meghan and Harry because it's damaging.
In what way is it damaging, Tom?
Well, it's damaging because they appear as royals. They appear as representatives of the British royal family, and they're
like a
not.
rival royal court. So
exactly, and they're not. They are doing it for their own self-promotion.
Stop it. Get some help.
To profit from their association with the royal family, the same royal family who they deserted and have humiliated and have damaged. And that's the problem, that Meghan delights in this. But what's interesting is that she's really so unpopular.
So that was a lie.
Despite her unpopularity in America now, and obviously in England, she still manages always to create, understandably, a furor when she travels, and that is her intention because she loves the spotlight. Everything is geared to her self-promotion.
We do not care.
Well, the self-promotion was always going to be the problem. So, when the late Queen signed off on the Megxit agreement, it was that they couldn't use the royal titles to make themselves money. They couldn't use HRH. They couldn't use Sussex Royal. That was the key, the key settlement part of the settlement that really that really stopped them from doing what they wanted to do.
Yes, exactly.
Do you feel, therefore, that they are pushing the boundaries and that maybe, they are overstepping the line and maybe the king needs to step in again?
Well, I think there are two things there. First of all, the problem is that they betrayed. They actually, in the end, ignored the agreement that they settled on.
Are you serious?
Because allegedly they were going to California for privacy and to leave the royal family. And they've done the exact opposite. But I think part of the problem has been the weakness of the king. He should never have agreed for their children to get royal titles after the Queen's death.
What do you mean by that?
And he should have stripped them of their titles and actually made a declaration that they're no longer representatives or members of the royal family. But Charles prevaricated. He's terrified of, in any way, creating new enemies, so to speak. But I think as well, Charles has behaved weakly because he feels guilt. He feels guilt that Harry keeps on repeating that his great misery and just self-destruction has been the death of his mother and how appalling that has been.
Boy.
But I mean, Harry doesn't understand his own mother, and Charles understandably feels the guilt whatever he does, because obviously he wasn't a great husband to Diana and wasn't a great father either when he abandoned Harry and William very often at weekends to go and meet Camilla.
You got me.
Well, that's always the problem I find when I'm talking about the royal family, is that, they're not politicians. This is a family, so the dynamic is father and son. So although, we talk about the kind of impact on the country or the impact on the royals, it is a family dynamic where he's still Harry's father. And, they're bonds, between a father and son that, you can only understand if you're a father yourself. Fact. Or a son yourself. So that relationship between them kind of undermines every decision that the king makes. So I kind of, you in your book, interestingly, we'll get onto it, on Rebel Prince, you do paint quite an unfavourable portrait of the king.
Well, duh.
I personally think, since the king's taken over, I've changed my mind on him. I was a little bit nervous about him, and I think he's doing a wonderful job, and I've kind of come round to him after kind of seeing him in action. What's your thoughts on the king since he's taken over? Have you changed your mind from, as I say, well, many people think was an unfavourable portrait of him in your book?
Wait for it. Here it comes. Almost there.
Well, my book, Rebel Prince, now called Rebel King, was very unflattering about Charles. I mean, his period as king, as prince, had been most unfortunate. There were many, many things which he did which were disastrous. I think he learned from the book, funnily enough. Yep. I think that he changed after the book came out and exposed so many of the wrongdoings which he'd done.
Now I'm really mad.
Whether it's about loyalty, whether it's about money, whether it's about the way he travelled, about some of his passions, like, for example, natural medicine, alternative medicine, all these things he changed his attitude on. And, of course, he was rightly praised for his environmental stuff, although when it came to architecture, although I think it was right, the way he went about it was very wrong.
Me personally, I wouldn't take this level of disrespect.
But I think the point about it is that Charles became king and everyone wanted him to succeed, because we are monarchists and we want the monarchy to succeed. Therefore, everyone had to get behind Charles and hope that he'd be very careful and not make the same mistakes that he'd made as prince.
What it really means is that Meghan is going to have to answer all Samantha's questions from her lawyers, whether she lied about Samantha, about Thomas Markle, in her notorious interview with Oprah Winfrey.
Damn!
So that's a major breakthrough for Samantha Markle, for Thomas Markle, and for the truth.
So what is Samantha trying to get out of this case? Is she trying to prove that Meghan lied about her upbringing?
Good question.
Well, what the essence of it is that in the interview with Oprah, Meghan claimed that she never even knew Samantha and that she was brought up as a single child.
What the hell?
And that Samantha...
Which your book debunks.
And which we know but from Thomas Markle is totally untrue. But what she also claims is that Samantha only called herself Markle when Meghan was engaged to Harry, which Samantha says is a total lie.
Me personally, I wouldn't take this level of disrespect.
Interestingly, Samantha also says that Meghan's story about having a Ford Explorer where she could only get in through the boot was also untrue. She goes through a whole load of Meghan's lies. So by July, that is what the judge has said, these depositions, this cross-examination of Meghan will take place for the trial to start in October.
Wow.
So Meghan really has a problem because until today, her lawyers have been saying this is so ridiculous, we refuse to even engage with Samantha Markle. They
Now they're going to be
stonewalled.
forced to.
Now, at the moment, they were going to be forced to.
So, I mean, this is a huge development, Tom, because we saw in the case against a British newspaper that Meghan can be tripped up by her lies. Because remember, she said, oh, I had nothing to do with that odd little bloke, Omid Scobie, and his terrible hagiography finding freedom. And
So that was a lie.
then she had to say, oh sorry, Judge, actually, I did know about it, and I did allow my communications officials working at the palace to be involved. So she has a track record of being tripped
Well,
up.
and she's not going to find in America the same sort of appalling judges as she has helped her here.
What do you mean by that?
But the judge said about her outright lie, it was an unfortunate lapse of memory.
Yeah.
You know, the judges in America aren't so supine, and she's going to find it very tough, and that's going to be very interesting.
Really, nigga?
I mean, her whole attitude ever since Harry's book was published has been fascinating. Her disappearance from view, her silence since last year.
What do you think's going on?
Well, I think she's building up to something very big. There's a very interesting story earlier this week that she was seen having a series of lunches with Gordon Getty, the 89-year-old billionaire oil man at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
People are wondering what's all that about. Well, clearly she wants money to build her coffers for various things. But, you know, Meghan is a shrewd operator. What happened today in the court is going to upset her plans, but she's defiant. She's determined, in my view, to build a career in America, a political career, and much more. And her lies possibly will now trip her up.
But Tom, aren't things turning quite toxic for her in the US? I mean, we saw last week Oprah Winfrey's sort of unofficial 69th birthday, attended by the Hollywood glitterati, and Meghan a very noticeable absence. And just like with the Obamas, there's speculation, at the very least, that some of these Hollywood friends are very concerned about the way that Meghan and Harry can't keep their mouths shut and have been sharing private conversations.
Come on now, dawg.
Well, I think there's that angle that they have been worried. But Oprah, after all, was severely damaged by her interview. Her status for having allowed Meghan utter one lie after another, not challenging her.
Here we go again.
As a fearsome interviewer, crashed after that interview.
Because she became a propagandist, didn't she?
Absolutely, and an accomplice to her lies. But also, I think that they don't want to have someone who is going to detract attention, which is the very reason why Harry shouldn't be invited to the coronation, because he'll distract from the event.
I don't like where this is going.
But I think Meghan as well is very cleverly decided that if she disappears from view for a period, then when she re-emerges, she'll be unbelievably, sensationally attractive to people. What has she been doing? There's an art of mystery about it all. She's, after all, a Hollywood actress.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
No, indeed, that's my theory on this too. I think, don't get me wrong, she knew that things around Spare were going to become very hot, and she thought, well, I'll let my husband take the flak for that. But actually, her disappearance is giving her more power in these negotiations that we believe are going on right now with the woke Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, who is on the behalf of Prince Charles, or King Charles, trying to get them to the coronation. And I think Meghan's silence at the moment helps her because it almost looks as if she's rising above it all, when in fact we know what she wants to do is negotiate concession.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Absolutely.
From the royal family, which is unbelievable to me.
Well, her silence is power. That's the whole point. And she's brilliant at freezing people out, as her father and many of her former relations have discovered. She's terrific at exercising influence by being invisible.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
She's not diluting in any way her importance by being away from the scene, and that is exactly what's happening, yeah.
Tom, I wanted to finish with a quick note on William and Kate, because the Princess of Wales specifically has hired this new woman, Alison Caulfield, to work as her private secretary. Now, this is quite an interesting hire, Tom, because this isn't necessarily a normal royal person. She's actually Jamie Oliver, you know, the celebrity chef.
Okay.
His ex-campaign manager. Now, we know with Jamie Oliver, he's got a real tradition of dominating the spotlight, running political campaigns. Is this sort of part of a fight back by Kate?
Let me put it in a language you can understand.
Well, I think it's a very clever program, a strategy. Ever since Meghan hit the scene, Kate has had to revise her game. She can no longer be the sort of the docile middle-class shrinking violet. She had to appear good, she had to dress much better, to have better makeup, and perform better.
Women.
And in the end, the royal family depends, its fate, much on Kate's performance and on her character and personality. She is a great woman and will become greater with age. So I think what she's doing is she's just developing. Rightly so. Rightly thinking, I've got to modernise, I've got to be young, I've got to appeal to people who are very dubious about the monarchy, not least because of Meghan and Harry's book and all the rest of it. And so I think she should be applauded for finding people who can advise her how to appeal to those who are dubious about the monarchy, who want to be reassured that the fate of the monarchy is in good hands. And that, I think, is very much in Kate's interest and our interest too.
Yep.